Oh, there it is. Okay. Position the camera. I didn't forget about one. That goes over there. That's dirt. Sorry. Okay. Get myself in position. Nope, it's still bright. Guess it's that door. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get the video to be a little bit less bright because I know that that's annoying. It is to me, at least. Oh, maybe it's not for everybody. I don't know. But I guess the next thing I gotta do is that curtain. I took the curtains down to wash them and I forgot them. Anyway, today, just trying to think of what I could use because I know it's really bright for me. I don't know about you. Of course, I don't have anything to hide the people thing. Dang it, there's a towel. All right, let me see if this works. Just gotta make a bit of a thin piece of it. I can just get a clothespin in that. Okay. Do I have any clothespins down here? I did. But I had to use it for a chip clip because somebody opened the bag and they opened it all wrong. So I can't close it the way I normally would. Let me see if I can find something to clip it with. That was a clothespin. Where would I be? That'll work on one side, but not the other side. That is a worm. Oh, I have to be very careful about my sun exposure. I do not handle sun very well. Yes. The reason I'm a child of the moon. Whoa. We do not get along. I get dehydrated and for days afterwards. I'm not good. All right, let's see if it's just gonna help. Come on now, stay there. Ha. That works. It's just temporary. Eventually, I'll get them washed and I'll get them hung. Actually, they're washed. It's just a matter of putting them back on the rug things and hanging them back up. Do I need to? No. Well, then there you go. And look, I really don't need to now because I just found another way to do things. If there's a what if, your brain will use it so that it doesn't have to do all the other stuff. Hi, I'm T. That's interesting. There's like a little hole in it, but it's not. It's got a pattern. It's got a pattern to it. It's fun. All right. So, yes, I am. I'm going to do the serial killer talk today. No, not serial killer like past serial killers, past, not just serial killers. I just say serial killer because that's just my go-to for labeling things. But just like they have the Dateline episodes, the Crime Network shows, things like that. So I figure out using my theory. I figure out who. There we go. Is that better? No. We get light. There's light in them there hills. Okay. Oh, whatever. Anyway, I figure out. What do I figure out? What made them do it? Sometimes, or different pattern behavior changes, things like that. That psychology doesn't look for, but I do because I'm looking for different types of patterns. Not just why they did something differently, but the way in which they did it differently. Let's see here. Like Dahmer and his table. I know people probably thought that was more meaningful than it really was. But that's just my guess. I don't know. See, the one of the difficulties is without having like the actual reports and actual crime scene photos, things like that. You can't really say, because sometimes you can tell how important something is by how it's set up and where it's set up. So that does help. So depending upon, if he had this table set up, if he had supplies for it, where he had it set up, things like that. That can be really helpful in indicating how important the table actually was versus just a project. There's a difference. Anyway, I really should change, I know, but I just got here. I'm tired. Judy's about to start in just a couple minutes. We're going to be watching that. I'm going to be working on the serial killer thing. It's mostly just me being able to make notes from the phone onto the notebook, as well as being available, because I know a couple people have reached out to me and I wasn't available. So I'm trying to make myself available, especially because I wasn't here yesterday. And I'm so exhausted. And I've got to get this thing off. Anyway, I just want to say, I'm so proud of my son. No, everybody did good present. Here's the nice thing to say. Everybody had nice presentations, but I would like to say that my son was engaging just slightly more. He's like his mama. He controls a crowd. He doesn't control a crowd, but he has the potential. He clearly, there's a lot of kids up there like, and we got and then that's going to make that another section drop down about it, and you're like, what? You're slurring your because I think part of it is sometimes we get so nervous that we push our words together. Well, here's the funny thing: some of us, when we get nervous, still do well. That's who I used to be. Even when I would get nervous, I was just like, that made me even louder and even clearer, actually. Yeah, and but some of them, I'm sure they had good. I don't understand science stuff, the stuff they were talking about, molecules and electrodes and biochemical engineering and all that stuff. I have no. The what? That's me. Huh?
An accounting firm.
They did work for you.
Yes.
Did you pay them?
Yes. That couldn't keep their own books straight?
I don't believe that's correct. Who did you write the check to?
To you.
They say there's an unpaid bill of $2,288.
I understand. That's what they say. If anything, they were negligent and non-responsible to me as a client.
But we did all this work.
Evidently not satisfactorily.
Judge Judy. You are
Anyway.
to enter the of Judge Judith Scheinman. This is Judge Judy. Bookkeeper Elizabeth
I told him, I said, your presentation was great. You were loud, you were clear, and you were engaging. It got him to laugh a few times. A little chuckle. It wasn't a full room laugh, but it was a good chuckle. And for a bunch of college students, hey, that means something. So I'm proud of him. Proud of all of them.
According to what I read in your complaint,
Yay, all of you. But
bought someone's accounting
I had no
firm.
clue.
My mentor,
I couldn't
Mr.
follow
Baker,
him.
purchased a friend of ours accounting firm.
Okay.
Don't mind
This
me,
was
my
a
head
client of
hurts.
that firm's,
It was, yes.
and you stayed on, did some business.
I'll tell you on
for him, and
commercial
wanna be paid.
how I got
That's what
there.
your claim is about. He's got a counterclaim. He says that you didn't know what the hell you were doing
Alright.
and you caused damage to his business. That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
Perfect.
I got lunch
So,
too,
Mr.
but I gotta
Wallach,
get up to get
How
it.
long had you been with the previous
Tired.
firm?
Approximately 25 years.
And this was a CPA firm?
She was not a CPA. She was an accountant.
What kind of work did she do for you?
Payroll for the business. She paid all my taxes, EDD. She did complete accounting of my business.
Okay. And what, Ms. Byron's training do you have?
I'm an enrolled agent. I'm enrolled to practice before the Internal Revenue Service.
What training did you have?
That
So I started, when I went to college, I have a bachelor's. I started in
enrolled to
accounting.
practice?
Do you have a bachelor's in accounting?
No, I do not.
What do you have a bachelor's degree in?
It's a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration with a management emphasis.
And when did you graduate from school?
I graduated in December of 2007.
What kind of work did you do after that?
I worked for a large healthcare technology company doing product support, helping healthcare providers submit their claims electronic and receive payment
Okay.
electronic.
Okay,
I also,
not accounting.
no, but during that time, I had met Mr. Behar before I graduated during a summer job, and he's an enrolled agent, and I started working for him part-time. I also grew up, my parents are
What's
accountants.
an
and I grew
enrolled?
up
Enrolled,
about
doesn't
it.
that
Just for
mean?
my own information, when you took over this accounting firm, did you tell Mr. Wallach or any of the other clients about your experience? Did you put out a letter?
We did.
I'd
So
like to see the letter that you
I
put
don't
out.
have the letter, and
Do you remember you were provided about Miss Burns?
No information
So why did you stay?
because they worked with my late aunt and they had all the paperwork and
But-
eligible from what I thought of doing the accounting.
Intelligence about them. I mean, I have an accountant. I've been with an accountant for well over 40 years. If somebody took over his firm, I don't know whether I would stay with them. I'd say, well, tell me about you.
Well, they were doing work for the old accountant
I
off and
understand.
on, and she recommended them.
Fine. So, and you accepted that.
Yes,
Okay. And they did work for you.
yes,
Did you pay them?
yes.
Okay. They said there's an unpaid bill of $2,288. That's what this case is about.
I understand. They say. I don't feel anything. They were negligent and as a client, and they cost me severe penalties, delinquency charges. They increased their fees without even letting me know prior from the other accountant.
Just a second, wait, just 1 second. Part of what you're saying to me, Mr. Wallach, is you were dissatisfied with their service. If you're dissatisfied with any service, you pay for that service and then you leave. If what you're telling me is that the fee structure changed without notifying you, that's a particular that I'll hear. Is that what you're alleging?
No, that
Okay,
wasn't the cause of.
just a second. Well, you mentioned that in your litany of lists. You said that they changed their fees without telling me.
Hey, Gary.
Am I mistaken?
No, you're not, but that's not why I'm here. Because of
Well, then why do I have to know about it? You made a whole list of reasons why you didn't pay them. You have to pay them if they did work for you. You were not satisfied with the work, then you leave. They're not going to be responsible, sir. If for some reason your taxes went up, that's not their responsibility.
Okay. The reason I did pay them,
How much did you pay them starting when?
I started paying them when they first started.
me the
The
date.
first check was in April of 18. I received a bill for $111.92.
April of what year?
That was paid of 2018.
Okay,
so
so
that
it was paid. So
yeah.
then, as far as you were concerned, you were current.
Absolutely.
Okay, is that correct?
that is correct.
All right. So it's after April. What bill did you get after April?
Here's a bill from June 15th for $432.49.
Did you pay it?
I paid it and the check was cashed 3 months later, I found out. But they were not crediting me the money. I was giving them checks and they did not credit me. They were waiting 3 months to cash the checks while they were gone for 3 months back east doing something with the Boy Scouts.
Just a second. What allege he owes you for?
May, June, and July.
So he got a bill on June 5th, he said, of 2018 for $432.
I don't believe that's correct. Who did you write the check?
I have to you.
Who's that? That says Byerlin. I'm not Byerlin.
Yeah, but you were working for the
I was
time.
not.
No, that's June.
I was not.
Then why were you sending me the
I-
bills?
Byerlin is not me. She sent you that bill.
But it was for the time you were working for her.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Don't answer her. How much did you pay your former accountant a month to do the work for you, your billing, etc.?
It was approximately $150 a month.
Okay, so when you paid $432 and you paid that in June, you paid that to the old accountant,
Who was not doing any of the work. She had a stroke.
but she had to have cashed the check.
Yeah, she was cashing it, but then she should have reimbursed them.
Well, I don't know that. She doesn't know that. Now, May, June, and July, he had been paying the old accountant $150 approximately a month. You have a bill for $2,286. What is that for?
So we had to go back. So there was payroll that was twice a month. There was a payroll tax return. And then we had to go back and do input that Ms. Byerlin had never done for 2017.
Did you discuss that with him first?
Yeah, he actually dropped everything off.
The 2017,
Yeah,
and you discussed that with him.
he had dropped the paperwork off and asked us
That's
to
not what-
input it.
Did you discuss what your fee would be with him?
Yes, and actually the first invoice he paid and it has our fee on there.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
I'm not following this. It's not also a good example of
The
anything.
$111.92 was the current amount.
Correct. And he did pay that.
Customer total balance was for when?
It was for that time period. So it was the total balance.
The work that you did,
Work I did or my employees did.
and that's that work.
Yes.
Did you turn that work back over to him?
Yes.
When?
I believe July 17th, he had contacted our office and had us forward the QuickBooks file to the person who was going to take over. And that was completed. And she,
Well, just a second. So you never turned it over to him. He
Hmm.
was firing your company and turning it over to somebody else.
yes.
Okay, I'm
I
going
may
to show
have
you this.
thought
Do
too
you
fast.
remember this invoice, sir?
Yes, I do.
Did you ever question the amount at the bottom?
No,
Why?
because I paid it.
$2,288?
Excuse me, this is 11,100.
No, it said previous balance, $2,288.
Oh, yeah, I did question it.
Tell me about the discussion when you questioned it.
The discussion was when I gave a check on June 15th, and this was the balance sheet, they weren't crediting me the checks that I was giving them, number one.
Can I see? Because you were making them payable to whom?
Well, I was paying to my old
Just-
accountant,
Just tell me, the name you were making the checks payable to was,
was Byron's.
okay, that's who you have to sue. Sue her.
For,
Sue her estate. Because he says he's paying her.
those are from old bills.
No, impossible.
I'm confused.
That's what it sounded like to me.
He was your client from when to when?
He was our client from, I believe, the middle of March until the middle of July.
I'd like to see the checks that you made from March, April, and May.
Oh,
This is June
goodness.
15th,
Hmm.
$432, which would have covered 3 months.
Yes, I don't have that check with me, but it was made to
This
her.
one.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I can help you, Miss Burns.
I don't understand. She was sending out bills for prior balances that had nothing
I
to do.
don't know that.
But he has those bills here.
I don't know that. He doesn't have to prove anything to me.
But we did all this work.
Evidently not satisfactorily. Because, I mean, why would he take business away from you if he had been with the firm for 25 years? Let's be realistic.
Mhm.
If somebody is in business and everything is going smoothly and whoever is there retires and you're perfectly satisfied with the replacement and all your business is there, all your prior returns are there, all your prior bills were there, why would you move it?
Probably because you're not satisfied.
Well, either because you're not satisfied or because things weren't working well.
Right.
When this woman had a stroke, was that in March?
No, it was in August of 17.
Okay, did she continue to work?
She did not. She was in a coma.
Well, then who's cashing her checks?
So we were operating her business and they were going into her business account. She is now back. And so she is now depositing those checks.
So she's back.
She is.
Well, find out from her where all the money is. He says he's paid. And why isn't she here?
She just can't move very well.
Okay, I give you 3 minutes to explain your counterclaim to me.
My counterclaim was, as of today, I am getting delinquent bills for business license that was never done by the accountant that should have been. EDD, notice of form that was delinquent, that was never done on their part. Federal tax deposits that were submitted incorrectly. Federal tax deposits that were made many mistakes.
Let me see the first piece of paper that you have, and then I will share it with the plaintiff.
Sure. Let me show you all of these. Okay. First piece, this is the first one.
Just for my own information, Ms. Burns, the person from whom you took over the business is now back in business.
On a very, very limited basis.
Are you working with her?
No.
Okay, then we're done. Did you take care of any tax deposits in March of 2018?
I don't believe so, because I believe Ms. Byerlin was doing that.
Well, that's why it's all pretty muddy. I thought you said she had a stroke.
She
in
did.
August, and now she's back. And you worked for March, April, May, and June. This is March 31st. The federal income tax deposit wasn't submitted correctly. And this is for a delinquent business license. Were you supposed to take care of that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, that took a while to get to commercial.
Return the car. Put your hand down. So far, you're not losing. You're getting the car back.
Okay,
Now,
let's
the
see.
only other issue, what do you want?
$9.99.
Something about small towns.
Right, that's what I need.
For Carl Olberg, chief of police.
Other murders?
Unsolved. Everyone confesses sooner or later to somebody. That might be something you tell me. Well, you
You never know, so I brought snacks. Didn't need them. Didn't need them. You know why? Because they provided lunch, which I'm going to eat. Hang on here.
Bring on the baskets for only $8.99 this summer at Frisch's, with
Mark
6
Hedberg.
delicious combos to choose from. Try your classic sliders basket, chicken tender, or buffalo chicken tender basket, and more. Celebrate summer with baskets for only $8.99. Stop in, carry out, or order online at Frisch's.com.
The law office is
Four,
Call 4444-4444.
Will these children learn how to put dishes in the dish
More compensation.
buckets? I
We've recovered
swear.
millions in
It's
auto
not
and
rocket
injury
science.
cases. We don't know what your case is worth until you call.
I really don't mind doing the dishes.
Right now,
No,
Skill Cells, Bold Sports,
They're grown adults,
Dirt,
but
Suck,
after all the time I've missed with them since when they were kids,
and system
I
efficiency
think, hey,
now with Stanley
you know,
Stewart.
anything I can do to make up for it, right? I really don't mind. But I am not a slave.
Deep clean your entire home.
And I'm tired of having to clean out the drain
Until there's Stanley Steamer Clean.
because they can't take the time to rinse a dish. Scrape it off in the garbage first, then rinse the dish. These are grown adults, by the way, not kids.
With 6 delicious
That's okay.
combos to choose from. Try your classic sliders
And then put it in the
basket,
dish
chicken
bucket.
tender, or buffalo chicken tender basket, and more.
We're not looking for
Celebrate summer
miracles
with
here.
$8.99.
Apparently
Stop
we are.
in, carry out, or order online at Frisch's.com.
Anyway,
Closed captioning
Just
is
upsetting.
provided.
but
I love it.
I've already answered my own question.
But sometimes I
Do they need to? No, because there's someone else to do it.
Nervi's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort. and
Kids are a very good example of how the emotional and the functional work. Let me tell you, they really are.
She's improving the look of her fungus-damaged nail while she sleeps.
Only carousel patches work for up to 8 hours to reduce discoloration and thickness.
Now that's what I call beauty sleep.
Carousel nighttime patches. We've got you covered. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bookkeeper Elizabeth Burns says
I don't know what just
former
happened.
client, deli owner Gary Wallach owes for services rendered. Gary is countersuing for damage she caused to his business.
He worked there
I really should have
April,
waited to
May,
start the
June.
video,
This is
sorry.
March 31st, your federal income tax deposit wasn't submitted correctly, and this is for a delinquent business license. Were you supposed to take care of that?
It was due on August 31st, and he had terminated services before I had completed it.
It was due on July 1st.
No, so they have a due date. So like the payroll returns, they're due the first day of the month after the quarter ends, but they're not delinquent until after
That
the.
doesn't mean anything. Your payment is due on July 1st.
No, I believe it says at the top that payments due August.
Payment is due on July 1st. Penalty applies after August 31st. Payment is due July 1st.
They have a grace
Okay,
period.
I'm done. You have a new accountant? You happy?
Very.
Good. Case is dismissed. We're done.
Why is that excuse you may step up?
I believe the defendant didn't explain things correctly.
They left their business unattended.
He was receiving old bills and paying them, and then saying
They never checked in,
that he was paying me, and that's not even true.
and everything became a mess where we could never get a hold of them.
Because you didn't have any money.
And they were just irresponsible and didn't care.
If people don't pay me when they get the bill, never do business with them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bucci versus Haynes. Step forward.
Dana Bucci and her sister Susan are suing their stepfather, Thomas Haynes, for a car and elder abuse.
The defendant was married to your mother for 33 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your mother had a car. In whose name was the car?
Mine,
Tell me your name.
Dana Bucci,
You're not eating the bananas.
title was titled in your name.
mine and my mother's.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
May I
What's
see
the matter?
title?
You sure can.
Let me check their bowl.
And was there a loan on the car?
There was and still is
How much is remaining on the loan?
$5,864.54.
Is your name on the loan?
No, Your Honor.
Then you have to return the car or pay off the loan. What's the issue, sir?
The issue is we had a benefit for my wife, and these ladies here helped throw the benefit for my wife, and they never returned any money to me.
Who cares? You want to throw a benefit for your wife? Throw a benefit for your wife. You have to return her car to her. That's it. Period. 5 days. If you need more than 5 days, you may need a marshal to come and get it.
Truthfully, I don't really want the car.
I don't care whether you want it or not. If you don't want the car, your case is dismissed. What's your pleasure?
I just wanted the loan paid off.
Well, he's not going to do that. If he was going to do that, then he wouldn't be here, so you get the car back.
Your Honor.
And then at least you have the car. Do you want that or not? Sure. Great. 5 days. Take the car with the marshal.
Can I speak up, please?
It's not your car.
I understand that it's not my car, but I'm doing a counterclaim.
What do you think they are you for?
Okay,
Judge Judy.
now,
Do you have to deal with anything else? What?
The issue with the benefit, I know you don't want to hear about the benefit.
I don't. Sir, pay careful attention to me. Did you pay for the funeral?
these beef
What did
sticks,
you do?
they're really good.
What did you do?
Pain means pause on the things you love, but green means go
I'm sorry, I know nobody wants to sit here and watch me eat.
and keep on going.
Except for me, apparently.
Green means go.
Is it menopause or something else?
The
I can cover the
menopause journey
thing.
has stages. Learn about yours with
It won't
the
stay down, though.
menopause stage indicator that tracks your
I'm
FSH
using a
hormone
clothespin
levels,
back there.
combining them with your cycle data. What's your menopause stage?
With Fairlife Ultra Filtered Milk, you'll want to savor every moment. With 50% more protein, 50% less sugar, and of course, it's delicious. Fairlife. It started. It's the side. Milestones like this may start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention.
Anyway.
Certain HPV-related cancers can start then too.
I dropped my son off and then I went to go get
But for others, it
Parking.
can cause certain cancers later in life.
in the parking garage.
Now, as the dad cab, it's my cue to help.
I really wish we had walked in
Embrace
together.
this phase. Help protect them in the next. Ask their doctor today
Because I ended up
about
walking
HPV vaccination. Net credit
all the way around this entire building, trying every door.
to a personal loan.
And on every door, there's a sign that says, closed due to COVID.
Apply online in
When's the
minutes
last
and get
time
some
that they left
positive
out there?
benefits.
I mean, I'm not saying COVID isn't around still, because apparently it is. But seriously? And you're going to have a presentation when I have the doors open or something?
Net credit.
Nope.
Credits with people.
Okay.
What's more American?
So I end up having to walk all the way up around the whole block to get to the blood center, where I finally met some people who directed me. Where do they direct me to?
Even though some
They basically direct me to go back out again.
because they're important. When it comes to your celebration of life,
Um,
it's really no different.
I would have continued walking back down because where they had told me to go, I don't think it would have worked.
And create a service
I think they were
that
thinking
reflects
that
your
the doors were
values,
open, but they weren't.
character, and
The main doors were
traditions,
not open.
no matter what they may be.
So luckily, I ran into some people that were walking into work, kind of thing. And I stopped this one woman and I said, I don't know where I am, and I'm trying to get to the building. And she said, oh, yeah, I know where that's at. I'm going kind of past that. Okay.
Dana Bucci,
I got traded off 3 times, but I got where I needed to go, and that's where.
Thomas Haynes,
So it
calls
worked.
for a car and for abusing their late mother. Thomas is countersuing for money owed, stolen property, and the return of his wife's ashes.
If you don't want the car, your case is dismissed. What's your pleasure?
I just wanted the loan paid off.
Well, he's not going to do that. If he was going to do that, then you wouldn't be here, so you get the car back.
Your
And
Honor.
then at least you have the car. Do you want that or not? Sure. Great. 5 days ago,
Yeah.
retrieve the car with a marshal.
Can I speak up, please?
It's not your car.
I understand that it's not my car, but I'm doing a counterclaim.
What do you think they owe you for?
The benefit so I can pay my bills.
No. No. Listen, if you're a survivor, sir, then you get certain benefits. If there were any other benefits that were not
My
survivors,
wife had them do that so that we would have the money.
oh, I don't know that. You have to return the car. 5 days. I will prepare an order. Do you understand? Very good. Do I have to deal with anything else? What?
Well, there's some other claim that I don't know if
Can I stand up? Sure.
Well, I'm Christopher. I'm Tommy's best friend, Christopher Ledoux.
Well, what's wrong with him?
Nothing, but there are some other things on the counterclaim that I just want to make sure get addressed.
Like what?
The issue with the benefit, I know you don't want to hear about the benefit,
I
but
don't.
the wife,
Sir, pay careful attention to
Sure.
me. Careful attention to me. If there were survivor benefits, lawful survival benefits, they would go in normal due course, they would go to the defendant. He was her next of kin. They would go to him, correct? I assume that there were certain social security benefits? No? No burial benefits?
No.
No? Who paid for the funeral?
was the donation.
Sure, just a second.
Sorry.
Did you pay for the funeral?
No.
What did you do? What did you do? Return the car. Put your hand down. So far, you're not losing. You're getting the car back.
You want to lose?
Your expenses are going to be held here until the car is returned to them undamaged. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Now, the only other issue, what do you want?
I just wanted to show he's been in possession of the car since my mom passed, and there's been payments that have been made while he's had the car for.
That's too bad.
And she's.
That's too bad. He's returning the car. Now, where are your mother's ashes?
They are at my house.
He wants them.
That's fine. I've got a text messages between me and him, and I told him to just come and get them.
Oh, great. So at the time you make that exchange and you go pick up the car, drop off your mom's ashes. That was part of your counterclaim.
Yes.
That had nothing to do with money. You see that? So that's going to be the order. You're going to get your car back, and he's going to get his wife's ashes back. We're done. Okay?
Your Honor,
What do you want?
I have a bed that's over there too.
You have a what?
Bed.
Their
Is
bed.
that in your countersuit? I have to look here. Well, I have to look here. I didn't know. Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed
I just want to say,
Is it menopause or something else? The menopause.
the most
study
was trying to help the
has
functionalist.
Learn about yours with Clear Blue
It's not very
Menopause
well.
Stage Indicator that tracks your FSH hormone levels, combining them with your cycle data. What's your menopause stage?
When you have a cracked windshield, SafeLight makes it easy. Just text GLASS to 45277 to schedule a replacement you can trust. Text GLASS to 45277 to schedule today.
SafeLight repair, SafeLight replace.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
With bugs, the struggle is real. That's why you need Zevo traps. Zevo works 24/7 to attract and trap flying insects for effortless protection. Zevo, people friendly, bug deadly.
A wide leaf filter, it's well designed, efficient. I appreciate that.
Leaf Filters technology keeps debris out of your gutters for good. Guaranteed. That's what you asked for. Call 833 Leaf Filter today.
That's my
or
bad.
visit leaffilter.com.
Why didn't we do this last year?
Before you implementing migraine, you looked at
And look at me now. You'll never truly forget migraine, but zero migraine days are possible.
Don't take it allergic to Qulipta. Most common side effects are nausea, constipation, and sleepiness.
Qulipta. I forget you get migraine medicine. Head and Shoulders Bare.
Whee!
Clinically proven
I have a Dr. Pepper that's cold.
with just 9 essential ingredients. No sulfates, no silicones, no dyes. Dandruff protection, minimal ingredients. Job done.
What's the key to getting a good-looking, reliable used car, truck, or SUV, even with bad, little or no credit? It's Cincinnati Auto Credit, offering easy financing, affordable down payments, and unlimited warranty included with every vehicle. Visit us today in Cincinnati or Fairfield.
Cleaning your dog's teeth can be hard. But not with Greenie's dental treats. Greenie's, well-being made wonderful.
If you feel
I brush my cat's teeth and he hisses at me. So what are you gonna do, buddy?
Job plus down payment always have Medicare. At Auto Joe's, you will not have to worry. And say, our staff with over 30 years of experience will help you choose from our wide selection. And you can buy here and pay here. No credit check. And at Auto Joe's, we service what we sell. Auto Joe's is here to help. Stop and shop at Auto Joe's today.
Installation day at the Morgans and those old drafty windows are out.
Perfect fit with these pros.
Even the
Or-
Johnson notes.
Hard not to notice such high quality at such an affordable price.
See how much you could save with a free estimate today.
What's the key to getting a good-looking, reliable used car, truck, or SUV, even with bad, little, or no credit? It's Cincinnati Auto Credit, offering easy financing, affordable down payments, and unlimited warranty included with every vehicle. Visit us today in Cincinnati or Fairfield.
Are you in a family dispute? Go to JudgeJudy.com. Like us on Facebook.
I'm filming visually and video. Or audio. She is. Oh, cool. Let me see. Is it a puzzle? Oh, wow. Those are cool trains.
Yes, why now?
Mm-hmm.
Same day as you go pick up the car.
Awesome.
Arrangements on that day to pick up the bed, trash it. Got it? Got it. Perfect. It'll all be in the order. We're done.
Step out. Judge Judy continues. And on the next.
Sorry.
One that
Time to clean about it.
Because families shouldn't be doing this to each other.
Because I am the husband.
Tried to have him get the car into his name.
I should have the car.
He was talking about the benefit money. That would have all went into that.
I should have the money. It belongs to me.
As long as my name would have came off that title.
They've never liked me anyways.
Rolling in her grave.
That everything turns out to be
Well, I'm glad she saw through him.
better for the both of us.
You can hear it in his voice how functional he is.
TV to provide equal employment opportunity to all qualified individuals.
Sometimes it's very obvious. Most of the time not, but sometimes it is.
If your organization distributes information about employment opportunities to job seekers, please contact the WXIX Human Resources Department by calling 513-421-1919. Writing to WXIX TV at 635 West 7th Street, Suite 200, Cincinnati, Ohio, or check our website, fox19now.com, for more details.
It's what's annual parking lot sale. Shop now and save thousands on spas, saunas, swim spas, and Cold Series spas. Floor models, scratch and dents, and overstock new inventory is all on sale. Plus, 12-month special financing only at Watson's.
Want to know a secret? More than just my armpits stink.
That's why I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant for clinically proven odor protection everywhere. So I smell great all day. Oh, hi! And all night.
Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Why sell your car at WeBuyAnyCar.com? Because selling it yourself.
It's important to smell good these days. Everywhere.
I'll give you half now. Okay, and this.
I can't complain.
This is mine.
Don't suffer selling your car on your own. Visit WeBuyAnyCar.com to see what your car's worth. We make it easy. Get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price.
Nice.
Get your free online valuation now at
Fox 19 Now is your Bengals flagship station. The best coverage from the best sports team in the tri-state. Fox 19 Now. Always local, always now.
I would like to see what you sent out.
Blame for dirty politics and youth elections.
Of questionable spending, there are various from $100,000, $4,000.
and they need the judge to clean it up.
We were not trying to imply that they were stealing money.
This whole case is a very complicated one. It could take 6 months in another court.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinman. This is Judge Judy.
Gerard and Erica Chumani are suing Joe Oliva, Eugenia Williamson, Diane Howell, and Betty Terry for defaming and slandering them during a nurses' union election.
Order. All rise.
It's case number 369 on the calendar, the matter of Chumani versus Oliva Williamson.
I will say that school has good food.
Parties have been sworn in.
They better. They have a nice culinary department.
Mr. and Mrs. Chumani, what kind of union were you officials of?
American Federation for Government Employees.
And who was the president?
I was the president, Your Honor.
For how long?
3 years, Your Honor.
And were you the vice president?
No, I was running for vice president for a new term. I lost the election.
Okay. It is your claim that the defendants who were running against you sent out flyers to the 800 union members that were about the two of you, and you want to be compensated. Who was elected president?
I was, Your Honor.
And your name is?
Joe Oliva.
And who was elected vice president? And your name is?
Diane Howell.
Who are the other people who are here?
I'm Eugenia Williamson. I was the former secretary and I was elected into treasury.
And you?
And I'm Betty Terry, and I'm the past president. In fact, I'm the organizer of the local 30 years ago, but I'm just a member now.
Who was responsible for sending out the flyer?
Our flyer, it was the three of us, Joe, Diane, and myself.
I would like to see what the flyer said.
That is not what we sent out.
I would like to see what you sent out. I'm not interested in all of this.
Your Honor, that also sent out, but not by us.
Would you return these? Because they're saying that those items that you passed up were not sent out by them.
Your Honor, that is wrong.
Well, then you have to prove that they were.
I have the proof. I have Anna, which is our treasurer. She received those flyers. 800 members received those flyers.
Just a second. I don't care whether 800 members or 8 million members. You have to prove that they sent them.
And I will do it, Your Honor.
Just do it fast.
To have the member address is secretive. Only those involved in the election, like Joy, Betty Terry, and Williamson, should have send it to the member.
Sorry, you can't do stuff. Anybody on the election committee could have the addresses of the members.
Yeah, we are not allowed.
No. Listen to me. This is the only thing that I'm going to consider.
Your Honor.
This is what I'm keeping. It's not a back and forth.
No other members have access to the addresses. So therefore, the committee.
I don't know that. I don't know that, and you can't prove that.
I can prove it.
No, you can't.
We have a rule here. We have an election rule.
I'm telling you, you can't prove to me that nobody else has the addresses of the members other than these 4 people. You can't prove that to me.
When you have a check at cash.
Just a second. Do you have it? Do you have the names of all? Pay attention to what I'm saying. Do you have the names of the other members of the union? If that's either a yes or a no. Do you have the names and addresses of the members of the 800?
I do not have it.
Did you ever?
No.
You mean when you were the president for 2 years, you didn't have access to the 800 union members and their addresses? I don't believe that.
I will tell you how it works, Your Honor. So we have to, by law, contact the headquarters in Washington, D.C. And the headquarters in Washington, D.C. have to send those addresses to the election committee. One of the election committee members who was also sued, she's not here present. So she has the address of those members and she shared those addresses with them.
How do I know that?
Oh, she does.
Listen to me. I want you to stop because I'm telling you, you cannot prove to me that these people sent anything other than this because this has his name on it and he signed it. You cannot. It is impossible for you to prove that to me. So let's start. Nothing wrong with this. This is a office telling them why they think that they can do a better job than you would do it. And there's nothing defamatory about it. The only thing that you can have issues with are these simple financial reports, these expenses, examples of questionable spending by Erica and Gerard Shamani. And let me go through them. There is a check without a memo, without what it's for, that's made out to you for $1,200. There's a check made out to you also for $1,200. Nothing in the memo. There are various checks from $100, $100, $39, $45, $1,000. Looks like $4,000. Anyway, there are a lot of checks with nothing in the memo of these things. So I would assume that if what you are saying is there is no veracity to any of the claims in here, that there is no financial report.
That is not true, Your Honor.
Just, you're irritating me.
I'm so sorry, Your Honor.
I want you to show me the reports covering an expenditure of $1,200, a check that was made out to each
Your
of
Honor,
you.
we have our former treasurer.
No.
All the invoices.
Just a second. All I want you to do for the first thing is take out supporting documentation for those 2 checks for $1,200, one to each of them, and what the supporting documentation for that is for. Give it to Bert. No, I'm not looking at all of that. I'm not looking at all of that. Don't give me all.
For the documentation for the $1,200, Your Honor.
Then what are you handing me all that stuff for?
It's the documentation for every check that they
I
have
don't
in
want
there.
documentation for every check. I said $1,200. Here, are all of those papers the supporting documentation for the $1,200? Fine.
So those, to give you an understanding of where the $1,200 is called 1187, which is an application for new members. And so what you saw.
Don't explain it to me. I should be able to understand it. If I'm looking at the documentation, there should be something for $1,200. This doesn't
You're in my
do it for
kitchen.
me.
What do you want?
That check number
Mom's kitchen.
corresponds to the check copy that you have, Your Honor.
This doesn't say anything.
It is. For each member that they recruit, the $100, and the new member that is recruit get $100 bonus. It's a promotion that the union has. So she recruits 12 members, so she gets $1,200.
What you're telling me is this represents an explanation why each of you got a check for $1,200. Would you show this to Mr. Olivia?
So,
don't speak.
I wanted to
don't speak.
You see, all the 1197s are there. All the patients were all the. This is the second.
Just a second. I don't want to hear you. You gave me the documentation to support those two checks. I have furnished that to the defendants to look at it.
Your Honor, we're noticing a little bit of a discrepancy. It looks like some of these are dated back from March and February of 2018. The checks we have listed that we sent out with our mailer were from July to October.
Yes, they are July.
They would have been paid for these already. This goes back February. This goes back to March.
January of 18?
January 28th.
I don't want to hear from you. She's the witness right now. Go over there to the defendant's table. They are saying that some of the supporting documentation, look at the supporting documentation.
Why are you getting paid in July?
These checks were from July. That's what you just handed me to support these two checks in July of 2016. That's what I'm dealing with right now. What they're saying is that your supporting documentation goes back 6 months before that would have been paid already.
You know, I helped her with.
I don't want to hear you.
In the transition, because there were problems in the union, there were people that did not get paid, and they were keep asking for the checks, so we have to submit it late. This is the documentation, and we send it. You know, we have the accountant that they review everything. So we do the double signature, otherwise they will not sign a check. And then the accountant issue a check. We don't even touch the checks. The accountant does.
No, she cashed the check. She cashed her check.
Yeah,
for
but it's
$400.
already issue checks.
Just a second. But the accountant issues a check based upon documentation. What their documentation doesn't support the July check.
These people were not paid in February because there were problems with the union.
How do you know?
The people kept.
I don't want to hear you.
The people kept calling us that the check hasn't been given to them. They promised the $100 check.
Just a second. That they hadn't received their $100 check.
Yes.
From dating back to February.
Correct.
And what does Erica have to do with checks for union people that were? She have to do with that.
Recruit that person in February.
Yes.
November. She was not there in January, February, March, April, so she could not have signed because she was in a different union. She wouldn't have been eligible to collect money because she wasn't in our local then.
Yes, I was.
She didn't transfer to in our local to November.
But the local is the same.
No, it wasn't. She was downtown.
If you allow me to speak,
I don't want to hear you.
If you recruit a person, anybody that recruits is entitled to get $100.
So listen to what this lady is saying is at the time these people were recruited in February, the plaintiff was a member of a different local, and therefore she would not be eligible for that $1 per person. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Shut. Put your hand down. You're talking about February 2018. In February 2018, Mrs. Chumani, I want to know where you were working in February of 2018.
I was with Local 3943.
Is that where you were in July?
Yes.
July, you were in the same local, 3943.
Yes.
Okay. And you have information that is different.
Right, when she transferred over. to 3943. She was originally in another local, and
I'd like you to prove that to me.
I don't have that.
Great. Then we're going to continue this case until you can get me that list.
Okay. She can't. She can't.
You can't?
No,
If you can't, then I can't. If you can't, then I can't do this case.
I will give it to you.
No, Betty Terry cannot. She
Just have to get the list.
The only reason why Betty cannot get it, I will get it to you.
Isn't there something that should say specifically where she was at?
If Erica recruited these members, why is it her husband's signature is on them?
What difference does it make if he signed it or she signed it?
The recruiter has to sign that they recruited that member.
What difference does it make with regard to the money?
I'm Nick, and I'm Nate, and we're the local twin brothers, making it easy to sell your property.
Anyway, let's see here. The shadow. Okay, so let me catch up to date on where we're at here with
And you don't pay
this.
any closing costs. We're local, and we've got every challenge: foreclosures, back taxes, and even vacant or inherited houses. You'll talk directly with Nick and
Go that way.
and we'll put ours to work for you.
I've never seen that little thing do that.
That's 401-6447.
Learn something new about your phone every day.
Hit us from behind, went airborne next
Now, let's see
and
here.
Our car was completely totaled. I was pregnant at the time, so I was concerned for the baby's health, and my son was in the back seat, so that was really scary. The first
Really
lawyer
need
that
to
we had
change.
contacted did almost nothing to help
At least
us.
part of
And we're
this.
like,
Excuse
we
me a
cannot
little bit.
support this guy. We gotta find somebody better. And I remember the little 444 jingle, call Blake Manslin, and they got it done in like 2-3 months. We didn't feel like a client. We felt more like someone that they were taking care of personally.
Take the Apple Adventures water park to the great place. With tasty food and great music. On a massive 100.
Come on, now there's gonna be there. Up there. Ah! Yikes. That hurts.
Every moment better. With more 50% taste that makes.
Dry scope before Hondo diet got me shredded. This is science. Formulated with key nutrients to support whole body health. One a day. Science that matters.
On this was what we wanted to really to walk me through the process. For me, it was more of something Dr. Ray actually.
Closed captioning is provided by. I love that my daughter still needs me, but sometimes I can't help due to use Nervive.
Nervive's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort. In 7 days.
But now I can help.
It's so
Feel the
tasty.
difference with Nervive.
This sushi's improving the look of her fungus stamp. Wild.
Only carousel patches work for up to 8 hours.
Now that's what I call beauty sleep.
Carousel nighttime patches. We got you covered. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. In a case recall from earlier today, Gerard and Erica Chumani claimed federal nurses union members Joe Oliva, Eugenia Williamson, Diane Howell, and Betty Terry slandered and defamed them during the union election.
So recall case number 369, the matter of Chumani versus Oliva, Williamson, Howell, Terry.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Please remind you, you're still under oath.
Now, does anybody have proof to show me that Ms. Chumani was a union member in February of 2018?
Your Honor, I just called the headquarters. They emailed me the proof here.
Great, that's terrific.
Woof. Now, okay. Like I said, old trusty. I like my flannel shirts.
The defendants, please.
Even if they are falling apart. Oh gosh. Sorry. We don't stand on ceremony around here.
Got it? Got it. Okay. I have absolutely no intention of going through 30 checks to determine whether or not there are supporting affidavits. I randomly picked one, and clearly there were supporting affidavits for that one random check that I picked. That's usually not a serendipitous thing. So if you did not do your homework and check all the checks and do your due diligence before you sent out an email or a flyer to 800 people suggesting that plaintiffs were in some way lining their own pockets with money that they shouldn't have. That's on you.
And may I present something?
What?
Okay, if Erica recruited these members, why is it her husband's signature is on them?
I don't know.
I can answer that question very quick, Your Honor. I was the president of a local. So before we send there was 1187 to the headquarters in Washington, I had to approve it. But Erica was paid back those 100 because they paid the local. There's 100 for those who could. So if there was a problem, then the headquarters will have contacted me. So our local response.
Just a second. Are you, just to satisfy my, push your paper down. You already got something wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a big thing wrong by a year. Are you allowed, as the president, if you recruit people, to collect $100 per
The answer is yes.
Is your wife, as a non-official, allowed to collect?
The answer is yes.
What difference does it make if he signed it or she signed it?
The recruiter has to sign that they recruited that member.
What difference does it make in regard to the money? Somebody has to recruit the person.
The recruiter that's on the application that
Asking you, what difference does it make if he signs
the
it?
recruiter didn't.
Isn't that supposed to be her name though?
She signed it.
He signed her name.
He signed her name.
They're husband and wife, doesn't that work? Maybe not.
Some of those checks, they don't even out to $100. They're odd amounts, and that's why we brought those out.
Did you speak to the old accountant? No, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. You or you. His name's on the document.
Pain means pause on the things you love, but green means go.
Yeah, pause.
Cool the pain with a free. Keep on going.
Okay, so this is what I wrote when I was waiting for my son's presentation. From the phone, plus add some of the information that I had in my head already, you know. So, what we have here is a failure to communicate. No. Actually, you'd be surprised. So I'd already started touching on the subject of like Jeffrey Dahmer with the therapist, the doctor lady that I'm talking to. But I hadn't gotten through all of it. It was just a quick little. I can't remember what it was. But I was using something from the Dahmer situation, and I think I was referencing, what was it? Well, I was talking about the instinctual brain, mostly that particular time, and I think I was referencing the fact that I don't believe. No, I'm just gonna say it. I don't believe Dahmer was gay. Nope. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not really sure about the whole gay thing when it comes to a lot of people, but when it comes to him, I don't think he was. Now, that's not to say that he wouldn't have become so later on in life. I don't know. All I can tell you is what my brain tells me at that time. When I'm reading something or watching something and learning about something, my brain says, based on the information that it has. By the way, it doesn't always share everything with me. This is the need to know basis kind of side here. I think that there's a lot of people out there that have had that happen to them. Freud is probably one of them, where it's just something just added up on its own in the head. And we just kind of answer that. And I believe the same can be said for a lot of people, myself included, for that. So, that said, as I was saying, I don't think he was gay. He may have been later on in life. I don't know. But when he became gay, no. Now, I say that because, for one, like I said, my brain says no. But for two, because, Dahmer, from a very young age, didn't have a whole lot to do with his parents when he was a child. He was also pushed aside, I believe, for another sibling. I can't remember the whole situation. So that was a big thing to that. And because when it came to, okay, so here's what gets tricky, because there's people out there that are like, well, I had a bad home life too, but you somehow got along with people at school, so that gave you an outlet. Now, some people are like, no, I didn't get along with people at school either. Okay, well, somewhere or another, your brain found an outlet. Well, so did his. And in his case, it was playing with the dead animals. Now, most likely, I gotta talk about this later because my son's coming downstairs. Hi! Are you doing the puzzle with Grandma? You're taking a break? Puzzles are tough, aren't they? But they're a lot of fun. Huh? A little fun? Yeah.
This guy who says that he is far more qualified than the current administration, and this is why he's more qualified, and this is why he's more of a protector. No financial reports provided to explain these expenses. These are examples
Want to say hi?
of questionable spending by Erica and Gerard.
Hi.
That's what a reasonable person
I
would say.
got
These people are very smart.
a one no puzzle piece. I just bought it right now, and it has 1,000 pieces.
No, to support this. Did you do any investigation at all?
Bye, Benji.
Closed captioning sponsored by.
Where was I? Dead animals. So, so one of the things that happens with the instinctual brain, I don't think we talked about the instinctual brain, but I have to be very careful because he's still down here. So I believe it's functional and emotional, but more so functional. I do believe there's an emotional quality there because there is this shoot, what was I coming with the other? I came up with it the other day and I can't think of what that explanation was. And it was a good explanation as to how the emotional is actually part of our instinctual as well. For as much as it's like, no, instinctual would be more like programmed completely. There is a emotional program too. And even that, and this is why it gets real tricky because it's like a functional emotion. It's a little different than your emotional side. So that's why it's real tricky for me to explain. But the idea is it's like, it's important not to, how do we put this? Okay, so you could go through eating simply meals that you need to eat to survive every day. You could. But okay, so at one point I explained how, like when we're sick and we're not eating a whole lot, right? So you're just eating enough to survive type of thing when you're sick, like when you've got a head thing going on or a stomach thing, but you got to eat still, something like that. So you're kind of like picking at food, like a bird or or something similar to that. And then there's times where like when we're mentally sick and we stick to very basic foods like peanut butter and jelly, cereal. A big thing for a lot of people has become like the smoothies, the shakes like that. Basically you're eating, but you're not eating a whole lot. Keeping it very basic, very simple. So, where was I? Pardon me. It's tricky to explain, but there's 3 levels when it comes to eating. There is the your basic just survival, teeny, the small amount. It is, and that's just for survival. You will stay alive just to survive on very minimal amounts of food, very minimal. Doesn't mean that your operations are correct. Doesn't mean that your vitamin levels are going to be correct. Doesn't mean you're, doesn't mean that stuff's going to be right. But it's enough for you to survive. I mean, if you think about it, like people in the hospital, they're in comas. They're surviving on the bag that they hook them up to, the IV bag that they hook them up to. They're surviving on that. They're not eating, but they're still surviving on it. So months, years like that. So you do have that very low level when it comes to food, consuming how much you consume, the very simplistic type foods, that kind of thing. Then you have that next level, and that's where people are eating, but they're still eating very, sparsely. And that, shoot, I lost what I was saying. I'm really sorry. My brain is hurting. I guess it's congestion. I don't know what it is. The doctor gave me medicine for it, but I don't really want to take it. I don't like medicine. I don't like to take. I took that Tylenol. That's the first time I've taken. Well, I took Tylenol the other day, but other than that, it's the first time I've taken Tylenol in a while. I just don't. I've had many medicines expire simply because I don't take them.
That should be staying in the coffers of the unit. That way, in the members and also for other actions.
Anyway, I don't know. So anyway, there's that first level of eating, which is a very simplistic level. Then there's that next level up, which is just it's still simple. It's still simple, but got a little bit more extra going on. And then you have the next level, which is where there's actually emotional involved, and that is where you're actually eating a little bit more. You're not overeating. The amount that you eat that would just be like considered a regular level is actually a slight emotional level. And the reason I say that is because, sometimes we're eating and we're like, I'm kind of full, but I've got that last bite left, right? You don't really need it. There is something functional to it. They've talked about it with the Noom thing and everything about how you're not supposed to waste food. So then it's like a rule in your brain that you can't do that kind of thing, right? And because of that, yeah, you get stuck that way. But technically, because you don't actually need it, it is emotional. But, as I was saying, if you just ate only what you needed to survive every day, it still wouldn't be enough. It still wouldn't be the correct enough. You wouldn't be getting the correct amount of nutrients and all that stuff that you get because you eat a little emotionally. Because you have that couple extra bites that you don't actually need. It is because of that keeps our levels correct. It does become a need in that way to keep the levels correct. This is why it's so difficult to explain, because it's like, well, it is a need, but it's not a need. It's not a need when it comes to just surviving. It is a need when you want to keep those levels correct, right? Like I said, somebody in the hospital could be in a coma months, years, and they're surviving off of that liquid and the IV. They're not living, they're just surviving. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that emotional quality that it is a need. It's still emotional, but it is a need. There's something to it. And when it comes to the instinctual brain, I do believe that part of emotions is a need. It's important to have. Uncle Father is abusing his 6-month-old baby. Oh, I thought they said he abducted it. Oh. I remember seeing this guy on the news the other day. There's something about him. Said something to me. I can't remember what it was though now. I see people on TV sometimes and it's the real them in the real moment, and I'm like, I can see something going on in their brain. I know that sounds generic to say, because it's like, well, duh, we all have something going on in our brain. What are you talking about? Duh. I can see it. I don't know. Anyway, there's no point in sharing it though, because there's no way to confirm it. There's no way to say anything further on it. I mean, even if I were to contact that person and say, at that moment when you were in the courtroom and such happened or whatever, and you had this particular look on your face, do you remember what you were thinking? No, they're not going to. and I wouldn't have the authority to be able to step in and find out that kind of thing anyway. Yes. How fun is that? Right. So, anyway, back to what we're talking about with the instinctual brain. So, the big thing you have to remember when it comes to the instinctual brain, it's the first thing that ever made sense to our brain. First thing. So when we are searching, trying to figure out answers for those deep questions, we'll say, we're not supposed to go in that room for those questions to get those answers. But when something makes sense, we'll use something that makes sense, right? To make sense of something that doesn't make sense. Thank you, buddy. What am I supposed to do with this? Merry Christmas to you, too. What? Hands out of the pants. Kids. Anyway. What was I saying? Yeah. So it was the first thing to ever make sense to the brain. So then we'll use that to make sense of things that do not make sense. It's usually a more extreme thing. It's usually like a last resort, but it's not always, especially nowadays. I'm seeing more and more people using it sooner. Kids are using it sooner than they're supposed to. And you see, the reason I say this is because we are supposed to have access to that room. There are particular times in our life where we are kind of supposed to access that information that's in there. The information that's in there is life and death. Now, when I say that sex word, deep down here, it involves gender. It involves your identity. It involves the I guess all of them kind of involve the whole animal thing, we're animals by nature, right? So that's in there too. Our good, our evil, and like I said, life and death. I actually, when I visualize it as like 3 blocks. And what connects the life block to that middle block is our parents giving us life. And what connects the middle block to the last block, which is death, is us and our offspring. And the reason I say that is because, instinctually speaking, our purpose for being on this earth is to be born, to procreate, and then to die. That's it. That's it, Davy. That's all there is. Everything else is what if? That's all the extra stuff. But instinctually, so that's the base of us, though, which shows you, here's the base of what we're here for. Obviously, we come up with all kinds of different reasons and purposes as well. So up through those levels of functional and emotional, we go back and forth between what makes sense to us and what sounds good, feels good, and out of that, what makes sense of things that feel good. So, yeah. But that's all the extras. When you get down to the nitty-gritty basis of things, we are only here because we are to be born, to procreate, and to die. That's it. So, which is why death is just as important to our brain as life is. It's just a process. It's one side of the zero versus the other. Yes, it is on the negative. Like life is on the positive. Birth, life is on the positive. Death is on the negative. But it's not, ooh, yay. No, it's simply one side of the zero versus the other. That's it. So, and that's why when people are questioning things, the question of suicide comes up because it is a question as well as it is a possible answer. It is. Get over it. I know there's people that, no, suicide's never the answer. Shush. Sorry. But shush. It can be. Yes, it can be the answer. Doesn't mean it's the right answer, but it can be because it's something that makes sense to the brain, and the brain says, I'm going to do this. Did I put that thing up? I did put that thing up. Huh. It looks brighter than I thought. Anyway, still working on it. Well, it's a whatchamacallit in progress, you know. So, where was I? So yeah, so the instinctual brain. And like I said, we're supposed to have access to it because there's times in our life we are supposed to access that information. During conception of a child, during the birth of a child, during a death. Women, you know, during that time of the month sometimes. I mean, anything that kind of involves that instinctual stuff. We kind of, you know, got to access that once in a while. This is why when we experience something, you can especially notice when you are dealing with it because you'll like a birth. It doesn't just happen. We feel a little changed after it happens. It doesn't maybe not stay around. That feeling maybe goes away, but for a few moments we feel kind of changed, and that's because that functionality has kicked in from that instinctual. Of course, once it happens, it's done. It's done. It goes away, right? So then the emotions are left. That's what a lot of times we see and feel when it comes to those moments is the emotional. But the emotional is being driven by that. It's also one of the reasons I say the emotional is in that instinctual brain too. It might be more stronger on the functional side, but the emotional is in there too. Anyway, sorry, they just had a commercial for something. CMOS gel. Not sure. Anyway, so yeah, we're supposed to be able to access it. And because we have access to it means that we can access it. Not really supposed to, but it's an open door now. So, that said, when you go in there into that instinctual part of the brain, and you're not supposed to be in there, and you're trying to use what's in there to make sense of something that doesn't make sense, it's very possible that something in there can get flipped. Now, when it gets flipped, you take what was originally supposed to be one way and now flipped it upside down. So, for example, you want to know why we're seeing more people. Okay, so there's more people claiming to be gay than there were before. Okay, now, again, this is awareness. This is another way of looking at things. This is not being judgmental. I don't care one way or the other what you've chosen, but I have to share this because this is information I have and I got to share it. Don't like it, you don't have to listen. I told you I was going to offend you. Anyway, there's more people that are becoming gay or you know, that are gay, however you want to look at that. Now, of course, there's always going to be the people that it looks good, it sounds good, they're going to do it. So there's always them. Because if you can, why not? Right? I mean, when my kids were in high school, it was more cool to be gay than it was to be straight. It was more accepting. People were more accepting of it now. People were more giving, more, what do you call that? I had some difficulty with being able to study for that test. My coming out of the closet just really made things really difficult. Oh, well, then we'll let you retake the test. Well, I was having difficulty with the test too. I just haven't been able to focus very well. Well, you're gonna need to work on that. Bring your grade back up. What? Wait a minute. Yes, this did happen. Not necessarily that situation. I was just trying to create a little, you know, side what if. But yes, I did see where some children that were straight, it's not that they were singled out or anything, but at the same time, it was almost, they were being given, all of them were being given, you know, all the teachers, all the whatever, they were all being given help and stuff. But it seemed like if you called gay, if you cried gay or something, trans, anything like that, any of the stuff that's kind of coming out new right now, there was this little bit of extra help. So it was almost like it was better to be than it was to be straight. I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand. So there are going to be a lot of people out there that are going to go that route just because they can, just because it sounds good, something to try. You know, you ever seen the commercial where the I think it's for Babbel, the community, the language communication thing. They have a commercial, and the guy's talking about they're showing all these different projects that this girl has started over the years, like exercising and making something that was supposed to be something but turned into poison, and was supposed to learn some music on a guitar, didn't even learn Smoke on the Water, you know, all this stuff. So it's you know, there's always going to be people that are like that, where I just want to try something. Oh, that looks fun, I'm gonna try it. And that goes for the gay thing, that goes for the transgender thing, that goes for all kinds of different stuff, right? There's also another one that also goes to, but I'll get into that in a minute. So anyway, so you have those people. Well, then you also have other people that either, I do not know. People say that they're born that way. Okay, that's possible. Here's another possibility. When dealing with the instinctual brain, you're dealing with your origins. We're dealing with the beginning. You're dealing with your birth. So if something gets flipped in that room upside down, then all of a sudden the brain is going to look at that as, like, let's say you're straight, and then somehow it gets flipped upside down. We're just saying, what if? Now the brain is going to look at that as being something from the beginning. So that would make sense why people say, I was born this way. Because they might not have been. But if something gets flipped in the brain, it's very possible that the brain would see it that way. So then, yeah, when they say they're born that way, they're not lying. Get it? So anyway, and I know there's a lot of people out there that, even if I look at them and I say, okay, let's talk about, you know, why you are, and let's say that we can figure out, or they can even figure out, you know, what happened. What caused that flip for them, that they became gay? That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change their life. It doesn't mean they're going to run out there and say, oh, okay, I'm going to be straight now. No. There's going to be a lot of people out there that they're going to say, okay, that's great that I know that now, but I'm not changing anything. I got this spouse that I'm with. We've got kids. We've got a nice life. Is it perfect? No. Do I have mental health issues? I do, but I work with them. I take my medications and I work with them, and my family helps, and we're good support. And you know what? Hey, I'll work out to you. Like I said, awareness. That's all I do. I have a human side too, so there will be times where I seem judgmental about something. Guess what? I am. It happens. But when it comes to the big picture of things, it's about awareness. So, that being said, one of the other things that you will also find that with, which people may have noticed, and that is the people identifying with animals. Now, we've done this for years. We've identified with animals in the sense of like with the Indians, and they have the animal spirits, right? And there's been many people that I've known that have been like, I identify with the wolf, I identify with the bear, I identify with the cat. You know, there's a difference though with like identifying with another animal as opposed to actually becoming another animal. So that's when you will sometimes see that as well. Because if you're human, but it gets flipped, now you're not human anymore, are you? Now you are something else. So it's something to keep in mind. It's something that we are seeing more often, and there's reasons for that, especially when it comes to like with children. There's no real easy way to explain this other than to say the world that they're growing up in doesn't make sense. And I know people are like, well, that's been that way for years, centuries. You know, there's always been kids out there. I mean, the world's always one way or another not made sense. There's more to it than that. There's something digging deeper into us. It's very tricky to explain, especially, and I feel I feel uncomfortable explaining it simply because I don't have I don't want to say I don't have proof. I don't want to say I do have proof. It's tricky, but it's so one is electronics. I know people are like, you're nuts. No, I'm not. Trust me. It's not nuts. It's electronics. Electronics themselves have an electromagnetic field around them. Now, I'm not a science person, so don't quote me on anything. Don't hold me to anything on this stuff either. But they have electromagnetic field around them. So, have you ever been playing on your phone and your phone started dying, so you plugged it in to charge it, and then continue playing on it, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden your hand starts to go numb, or your arm, or something kind of starts to go numb a little while later on? You could be doing that for 2 hours with that phone, playing, no problem. And then all of a sudden you charge it, and like within 10, 15 minutes or something, you're feeling that. Now imagine that doing that to your brain. Imagine if you just like put the phone on your brain or something. Yeah. Now, what's it doing? This is tough. This is tricky because now we're going to get into some functional talk that we're not really ready for yet, but might as well. So those electronics kind of communicate with us in a very functional way. And the problem is that we don't just have these electronic things around us. They become like a part of us. Oh, here we go again. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I can't leave my phone at home"? That's like leaving my hand at home, right? So becoming a part of us, right? Right? Yeah. So now we've got these devices here that are part of us. You see how they're affecting the brain? How that electricity could be affecting the brain, the magnetic field, whatever you want to call it? Yeah. And because it does not make sense, because it's not part of the original blueprint, it messes with us. Now, here's the question. There is, what do they call that? Over time, we human beings adapt. Like people who are not very hairy, they move into a place that's very cold and wintry like, and they start growing more and more hair. Whatever that adaptability is called. So now you have to wonder if that's possible. That's possible. That the brain will begin to start getting used to these new levels of this electromagnetic field or whatever, and start being more and more okay with it as generations go past. That's a possibility. I don't know if that's a good thing, just for the simple fact that there's a reason why we have the amount of emotional and the amount of functional that we have. There's a reason why we are made that way. And each individual person has a different, not just a different level of emotional and functional, but a different mixture of those levels. Some people who are more emotional minded, they might be artistic. But someone else who's more emotional minded might just be more musically inclined. They're both at the same, we'll say they're both at the same emotional level. They're both at a 48%, whatever it is, we'll just say. So they're both on that high, is that high side? 40 to 60. So that would be different. Let's just say they're both on the, it doesn't matter. They're both at the same percentage wise for emotional, but they have two different mixtures going on. And that goes for all the different things in the brain. When you have all those different definitions on both sides, and I'll take a little from this definition, a little from that definition, a little from that definition. We're all different. In that way, we're all different. We're like snowflakes. So, yeah. I personally don't think it's the best idea But without further research, I really couldn't say one way or another if it's a good thing or not for the electromagnetic field to be affecting us and changing us genetically, I guess would be a way of putting that. Or our own GMOs. I don't know. But it's a possibility. So anyway, so back to what I was talking about with there was one other thing. What was that? When it came to the instinctual brain. The good and the bad. Oh, yeah. I just simply because I've talked about it, I might as well just add this part in. When we get those intrusive thoughts and intrusive dreams, and they're dark and aggressive, deviant, sexually evil, like they're not just bad, they're not just negative. There's like this extra to it, right? You know what I'm talking about. They don't happen now all the time. But every once in a while they do. And when they do, you're like, ooh, whoa. You might even hang in there a little bit just because you're part of you knows that this is not a good thing. But you can't help it. It's like a train wreck. You got to kind of hang in there for a bit. Yeah, I've been there too. I had one just the other night. Okay? Been there too. Anyway, that is being caused by the instinctual side. Now, could be that you're searching for big answers. Could be little simple answers. Like a big one, a very big one is loneliness. Because again, remember our instinctual brain, instinctually speaking, our job is to procreate. That's the main focus. And so loneliness doesn't really help with that procreation thing, does it? No. So yeah. Definitely an issue. I would love to do a little bit of research on it when it comes to the, like people after, like women. You have to pick women because they're the only ones that have this specific thing. But with menopause, after menopause, are they still having the same type? Not that they're not still having them, but the same type. Thoughts, dreams, the intrusive, yeah, that to that level. And when they are, is it because of like a loneliness thing, or is it something else that's making the brain's questioning something else? It's a possibility. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. But that's the reason why you will SAG-AFTRA story of G.I. Joe gets enhanced, re-released using AI. Oh, that's another one that's funny. Oh my. Shaun of the Dead. Back in theaters for its 20th anniversary. Sorry. Trying to remember what I'm saying. I forgot. Anyway, so, well, yeah, the aggressive. Okay, so when you're dreaming and you're having or death dreams, I can't tell you how many times I would talk to people and they'd be like, "There's something wrong with me. I just keep dreaming about my own death over and over again." There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain is doing that because it is a possibility. It is an answer. To your brain, it is an answer. Doesn't mean it's the right answer, but it is. So it has to look at it from the different angles. We don't get upset when we dream about pretty unicorns and bunnies and running around in the little meadow out there, do we? No, we don't. We don't get upset. Oh, I had the cutest little bunny dream last night. It's doing the same thing. It's I don't know if it's questioning unicorns or bunnies or what, but the point is your brain is doing the same thing. It's either going this way or it's going that way. And it's going to question in both directions, depending upon what's going on in your world. When we're searching for answers, it's either an anxiety, so that's going on more on that negative side, or it's going to the excitement, which is kind of more on the positive side. Again, it's the beginning process is not positive and negative the way we think of it. What it equals, that's when you see it where the more positive and negative that we're familiar with, the yay or the ooh, that the equals, that's where it becomes actually sad, glad. Otherwise, it's just a process. It's just your brain trying to figure this out, figure that out. We're going to go this way to do that. We're going to go that way to do that. That's it. So, I mean, I can't go into specifics about that because without specific information, I can't say one or another why someone is having a particular type of dream. But just to let you know, for anybody out there that is sitting there saying there's something wrong with me, all I can dream about is or dark evil things or my own death or other people's death. That's why. Nothing bad. It just means your brain is trying to figure something out, and maybe it's time to start listening to it. Yes, it does talk. At least mine does. All the time. Dear Lord. I do believe other people's do too. I believe that it's more difficult sometimes for more functional minded, and the reason why is because they are stronger on that side, and the functional brain is quiet and works on a need to know basis, and oftentimes that even includes you, the person yourself. Yeah, you yourself. It does not always give us information. It figures things out on its own and doesn't always share it. Sometimes. So it is a little more difficult for more functional minded people to be able to hear the brain, so to speak. If that's a good way of putting it. But not impossible. I don't think it's impossible. I think I've seen it happen to some people. So, again, can't really say for sure because I'm not allowed to do any studies. Ugh. Gosh, life would be so much easier if everybody would just give in to tea leaves and let her do whatever she needs to do to get this stuff figured out. I bet you I could figure out the brain a whole lot faster if I could just be allowed to do whatever I need to do. Give me a card that says, swipe. You have to share that information. We have to figure that out. Anyway. Continuing on. I think I move funny when I'm in the darker light. I'm not sure. So back to our good friend here, Dahmer. Poor kid. I'm a horrible, horrible judge of character. And this is part of the reason why. I could be sitting there talking to a serial killer or someone who's a negative, and the entire rest of the world knows, but I don't. I can't. I'm a horrible judge of character. So anyway, let's go back to this. Okay, so Dahmer. So as I was saying, he started playing with the dead animals. Are you seeing the questioning life and death? Are you seeing how he's using the instinctual brain to try and connect? And I believe a big reason for this was because of, so like I said, home life, no outlet. School life, no outlet. I don't know if he had any friends, anyone he could even talk to. Sounds like he didn't. And he really wanted friends. He just really wanted friends to turn to. And just doesn't make sense. When you look around, I know the feeling. I was bullied in school. I didn't have friends. So I know the feeling when you're looking around and you just don't, what is it about me that's so wrong? Not just different, but wrong. Which unfortunately will sometimes get us to start going into that instinctual brain. Because when we start thinking we're wrong, not just that we do wrong things, we start thinking maybe I am wrong. Maybe was born wrong, or my existence itself is wrong. So you can see why sometimes people, when they're questioning like that, might end up going into the instinctual room and messing around with something without realizing it, in order to find an answer to what's wrong with me. I'm telling you right now, anytime you go in that room, for the most part, unless you're supposed to be in there, you're not going to find answers. But your brain is still going to go in there and try to find answers. And it's going to involve life. Most of the time, though, when it's doing that, it's going to be on the negative side. So it's going to more so go to the negative side of things, like that. The more deviant stuff, the evil, like I said, the good and evil in our brain is in there too. The good and evil of the world inside of our brain, that's in that room. So, yeah, he wanted a friend. And he didn't understand why. He didn't understand what was wrong with him. Which made him go in that room and question it. And then we got the death thing going on with the dead animals. The fact that he thought he was wrong. I believe that. I believe that he at some point was sitting, his brain said, I was born wrong. Something's wrong about me. So in an attempt to try and search out those answers, it tries to go find out where it can find answers in the wrong place. I don't believe that he was, not this next part with it is the gay thing, where we're identifying him as that's what direction he was going in. Again, I think that was just more so the friend thing. So first of all, you have to remember that because of, how do I put this? Because of the inadequacies in his life of being able to move from toddler to child to preteen correctly with the correct education that goes along with it from parents and from peers at school, he probably was stunted in some ways, pushed forward in other ways. And because of that, even when it was time to start having feelings, we'll say, like going through puberty and stuff, it didn't go quite the way it was supposed to. Now you take this real strong need for friends. Now, you got to remember, a lot of times to boys, girls are, ew, weird. We're just like girls, ew, boys, ew. Until we reach that certain age when we're like, maybe we're not so ew. But until then, we are. And so in his mind, girls were still ew. He wanted to be friends with guys. Well, you take that need, which now is not just I need friends, I need to make friends, but need. There's an overfocus going on. And now we take that I need to make friends and flip it upside down to, or this over need to make friends, which then becomes an obsession. And as we all know, love and obsession are very closely aligned with each other in some ways. So he became obsessed in a way with the idea of being with guys simply because he just wanted to be friends. We wanted to be like the other guys. And when we want to be like something, we emulate it, we admire it, So that's one of the reasons I said it. When he killed the one boy, this is actually something we just recently saw too. I saw a show with this grandma who's going out gambling, and killing people on our way. Well, the same thing happened with her that happened with Jeffrey Dahmer years ago. My friend is leaving, and there's such that need. Not and poor people are like, I had to control them. Yeah, I guess it is like a control, but it's this need, this over-focused need to hold on to something that makes sense, to hold on to something that feels good, makes sense. So we killed him. It was an accident. It was, as they say, a crime of passion. These are times where I speculate if at that moment in his life, if somebody had stepped up and said, just new teacher in the school, new something, had stepped in his world, would he have continued? I don't know. I couldn't say for sure, but I have my suspicions. No, I don't think he wanted to be a killer. I know. People are like, well, then why did he become one? Because what resort did he have? What other thing did he have? The only way he could keep people around is if he immobilized them. And of course, as some people out there have found out, even if you immobilize them and then let them free again, then they call the police on you and put you in jail, and for just being who you think you are, at least who you think you really are inside. So yeah, I see it. So I do believe that if somebody had stepped in his life at that point, even after he had made his first kill, I think things would have gone differently for him. Or could have. Would he have ever admitted to it? That I can't say. I can't. I don't even want to speculate on that one at all. I don't know. But yeah, I think something could have been done. Anyway, that's just speculation. It's all in the past, and there was nobody who stepped in. So he continued. Now, let's see here. Excuse me. The next part was the table. There was discussion about him having this plan for a table. Now, when I saw the show in the middle of the night, didn't even know who they were talking about. Jeffrey Dahmer at first, because it was one of those shows where they just start talking about this person. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, and then they say an actual name. By the way, this person was really known as, or they actually put the last name and they say this guy Jeffrey, Jeffrey. As a child, Jeffrey, da. They don't say Dahmer until later on. It was just like, oh, that's who that was. I've heard of him. I didn't know anything about him. So, because growing up as a kid, teenager, young adult, I never was like, serial killers. Ooh, let's learn about them. Just didn't. But that night that I was watching the show, I had some questions, and my brain actually let me go onto Wikipedia and look stuff up. Now, of course, it's Wikipedia, so it is, as I understand, written by other people. What they may or may not know. So, can't really say for too much. All I know is that at some point there was designs. They found designs for a table that he wanted to create. I don't know if they actually found physical form of this table, like where maybe he started it, or if it was just drawings. But I'm telling you right now, not just from the information I have, but also just kind of a feeling I get, that table was emotional, not functional. And that means it was a goal, and when it was something he wants, something to do, but it wasn't an actual need. It's kind of like, you go out in the backyard in your garage and you find some stuff and you think, I don't want to throw them away. I wonder if there's a way I could use them. Right? So it's kind of like that idea. these were if he had been allowed to display them, he would have. They were his friends. They were important to him. Yes, there was deviant and dark and aggressive and sexual and all that other evil, all that stuff mixed with it. But again, remember, when you're going into the instinctual brain and you're going in the way you're not supposed to, yeah, that's how that stuff's going to get played out. So you have to basically take all that extra stuff and just look at the base of it. And the base is they were his friends. They were smelly, though, after a while. So he had to do things with them. And they take up a lot of space when they're in their entirety. And the head is definitely a very, what do you call that? Identifying item. You know, you can, if you have a person's hand or their arm, now, what do they look like? I can't really remember. But if you have their head, then you can kind of just go. Then you can kind of visualize it, and you can kind of keep it with you. So it makes sense why we keep that. And not the rest of this, you know, unless we needed it for a particular reason, like for the table, you know, to give it legs, to do whatever. I'm just throwing that out there. But the point is, I can see why it was just keeping the skull. It's a lot. If you've been allowed to display them, then I'm sure he would have. In fact, I'm sure he probably would have displayed them all over his living room and his bedroom in different poses, sitting up at the chair, reading a book, like it's reading a book to him, or reading with him, or two of them sitting on the sofa watching TV with him. But of course, if he had brought anybody into the room with them there, things wouldn't have lasted very long. Of course, he could have said that he's a science major or something, and that these are actually, they're fakes, they're Halloween decorations. Could have what if that way. Anyway. Now, I know poor people are like, well, you know, couldn't he have been satisfied with just a few people and that kept going? Well, the problem is that, so I believe, you know, he's searching. And he's living anxiety out loud. So basically he's, you know, I hesitate to say this especially because I don't want to use the word God, because people automatically are going to look at them and be like, oh my gosh. The idea of using God is not to say God, but to say something very important comes to you and says something to you. You're going to follow it. So if something in the brain says there's something very important to this, there is a reason to do this, then you're going to keep doing it. But it's just like when I was talking about the instinctual brain, when you go looking for answers and there are no answers there. He thought he would, like others in the past even, you thought by killing the next person that you'd find an answer. The next person, find an answer. The next person. There's other things that go along with it, yes. There's the sexual satisfaction. Satisfaction? That's not a word, but you get what I'm saying. There's all kinds of other things that go along with it. Again, these are all extras, or they're just distractions, or there's the base thing. And the base thing going on here is that this person is searching. They're searching for something that makes sense. And so far, this activity that he is doing makes sense. Just like so far, gambling is making sense. So far, drinking is making sense. You know, these are different activities that people get involved with, and they repeat over and over and over again because there's something about it that makes sense. They're searching for something that makes sense. And they're using something that does make sense to find that answer. So, because what's the opposite of death? Life. And what's the opposite of life? Death. So if you want to find life, maybe you have to use death to find it, and vice versa. It's amazing how the brain works and figures things out. But anyway, so when it comes to the table, though, something to do with naughty, it also demonstrates a kind of questioning, such as what's next. So whenever someone kind of deviates from their original way of doing things, it's not necessarily a negative or a positive. It's just simply the idea is something caused that deviation. So for him to be sitting there and one day think, I want to make a table, and I want to use my friends, basically, in attendance at the table. He's taking something that does make sense, his friends. Because again, he wants to display it somehow. And a table could be a way of doing so without having the entire body taking up all the sofa space. I don't know where you would have put the table, again, without being able to be privy to the crime scene photos and all that. Hold on one second, I got some here. Oh, shoot. Done. Okay. Hold on a minute here. Do you need to be picked up, or are you and your dad hanging out? Where was I? I was saying something with that. Sorry. Picked up. Okay, let me hit the restroom real quick, and then I'll be on my way down to get you. Stay indoors, and I'll let you know when I'm down there. Okay. I gotta go get him. So, real quick here. It also demonstrates a kind of, okay, what's next? That's it for the table. There's more on the table, actually. And now my brain is like, what? The table? No, son. Gotta go get him. Proud of him. So proud of him. Anyway, as I said, I don't believe, and the reason I'm bringing that up about the table is because I know a lot of people are like, well, if you start a project, you'd want to finish it. So one of the next things I'm going to say is that when he was caught, I believe that was intentional. I think it was time for him to be caught, meaning his brain had decided that it was time. Not him, but his brain. And I'll explain why when I get back, the steps in which I believe that's why that happened. But the reason I'm saying that about the table is I know a lot of people will be like, well, if you start a project, then he's got to finish it, right? It wasn't a need. It was just a fun project. It was for fun. It was some way for him to hang out with his friends. But it wasn't the only thing in the world, so it wasn't a need. Anyway, I am going to put you on the clothes and the quiet, and I'll be back.